Pedro has played a father in so many different texts, a found father figure. But do you think it's safe to say that Reed is the first capital D daddy in the MCU?
Are there not other fathers in the MCU?
Oh, I mean daddy.
Oh,
Yeah,
daddy.
different to father.
Daddy?
Capital
no.
D.
No. The first capital D daddy in the MCU? No. I would say he's in a group of capital D daddies. There are a lot of daddies in the MCU, if you're asking my opinion.
Tony Stark's pretty daddy.
Tony Stark is daddy.
Chris Evans, pretty daddy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. It's a daddy party.
It's a daddy fest.
Daddy fest, trust me.
You're lucky to stick out in the daddy fest. They're nice to you.
I have to. I'll use my stretching powers to stick out a bit.
Well, hello everyone. Female Frodo Baggins here, and Fantastic Four week is just about upon us. But surprisingly, it looks like it's not going to go so well for the movie. Or is that a surprise? Because you see, for a while now, I've been doing a lot of predictions on what the box office for July is going to be, and I was predicting that maybe, I was going back and forth, but maybe Fantastic Four will beat Superman at its opening weekend because it's Marvel. DC has had a lot more years of brand damage, and it looked for a while there, but that predictions were adding up with what I was thinking. But something odd happened this week. New predictions came out for Fantastic Four, and I'm assuming these are more accurate because it's so close to the film, but saying that it might only come in at 100 to 110 million. Now, by comparison, when we were getting closer to Superman being released, predictions started to tick up. In fact, it is overperforming a bit now at the box office. They were predicting 123 at its opening weekend, and it wound up getting 125 at its domestic opening. And while international numbers are still really bad, domestic for Superman are what is carrying it right now from day to day, and really surprising with that film. But then we get the predictions for Fantastic Four, and after for a while saying that maybe it was doing a little better than Superman, maybe it was going to beat it at its opening weekend, now apparently pre-sales for tickets are 20% lower than Superman's were, and it is tracking to do worse at the box office. Wow. Why? Why ever could that be?
But do you think it's safe to say that Reed is the first capital D daddy in the MCU?
Are there not other fathers in the MCU?
Oh, I mean daddy.
I think it's time to talk about the marketing behind the Fantastic Four movie and just how abysmal it has been. Now, you all know that I was not a fan of James Gunn's Superman, but I can't deny that as polarizing as the film is, it does seem to be bringing people, at least from America, to just watch an entertaining movie. There is something that this film is doing that Fantastic Four has not. I saw a lot more hype around Superman than I see Fantastic Four. I do not see any hype around this Fantastic Four movie. Superman and DC, at the very least, still has a dedicated fan base that have proven themselves this time around by actually showing up to the box office. So there is that, but I don't see any such thing for Fantastic Four. For the entire run of Fantastic Four, I've essentially been covering controversies for the movie. Disagreements with what they're doing with the script, disagreements with what they're doing with the characters, bizarre things happening with the casting of Pedro Pascal and things that they would do to market him behind the scenes. There's been a lot of videos about that. But now that they are amping up their final stretch of the marketing campaign, it just keeps getting worse. We keep getting these really weird viral clips of the press junket. First, we have this clip with Pedro Pascal, which I've played, where it's just like, Pedro is such a daddy. Are you a daddy in the MCU? Who is a daddy in the MCU? A big D daddy. Tony Stark is a big D daddy. It's such a bizarre and weird clip, but it's not the only one. Now, this clip of Pedro Pascal and all the daddy thing, and they are pushing that so hard, and they've been pushing it so hard throughout this entire thing. Pedro Pascal is just such a daddy or a zaddy, and we should be fawning over him, I guess. It's not working, and the more they push it, the more awkward it gets. And that whole interview with that interviewer is just so weird, and it's like, even the actors don't know how to react. But before this, we got a different clip with Vanessa Kirby, where this happened.
Right into you, Vanessa. You've kind of become a social media icon for your force-filled, snatched fierceness face.
Oh God.
How did you come about to go into that
good
force
thing.
field? It's a good thing. It's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Face is good, babe.
What's that from? Sunglasses, maybe?
Cunty face just means fierce,
Does it mean like
fabulous,
Does it?
beautiful, strong.
Strong,
It's good. It's good.
okay?
independent.
Promise.
Okay, for those who don't know, first of all, look at Vanessa Kirby's face when they say this to her. For those who don't know, what these interviewers are using here is something that I have come to know as Twitter speak. If you are on Twitter a lot, and unfortunately I am because I use Twitter to get the news, and it's the quickest way to do that. But you see a lot of this kind of talk on Twitter, using this kind of language, essentially to be sort of a flamboyant, kind of slay sort of thing. This is Twitter speak. And they are trying to use it for these actors, I would assume, to make it seem like the actors are in with the cool kids. But it's not working, first of all, because the actors have no idea what these terms mean. Second of all, because that word, the see you next Tuesday word that the second interviewer used, that is actually one of the worst things you can call a woman in real life. And so you can see Vanessa Kirby's face is just flabbergasted and shocked at being asked this question on a press junket, which you might wonder if they would ever screen the questions. Usually they have PR teams behind this making sure that nothing this shocking would get by. But also, this is actually not the cool way to speak like they think it is. This is Twitter speak. Now, these clips, once again, are what's going viral for the film, but they have to understand the problem with these clips is that they are desperately trying to appeal to the Twitter crowd and how those people speak. And I think in their minds, this is very, how do you do, fellow kids? That's what the entire marketing campaign has been. They're trying to be in with the young people, But what they don't understand is that most young people are not on Twitter. Twitter, I think, might add up with dead internet theory, where it's just a handful of weirdos talking to bots all day long. Young people are on TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. They are not on Twitter. So the desperation to try to link these interviews with Twitter speak is falling flat on its face because most people have no idea what that's a reference to. They wouldn't talk like that, and it comes off as pretty insulting. Now, they say that the other reason why these interviewers are doing this is because this is part of the problem with interviewing these days, is that the interviewers, they don't care about anything other than to get that clip to go viral. That is why I believe there were so many bizarre individual clips for the Wicked press tour, because the interviewers were just trying to drum things up to get themselves seen. And as we've seen with that, it can bring an interviewer a lot of recognition if their clip goes viral, and they can even get questions about that clip. And that's part of the problem here, is we're not looking for interesting questions on the movie, is that we're just looking for bizarre moments just for it to go viral, just to get people talking. But it's not necessarily anything that endears people to your movie and makes them want to go see it. It's just awkward and seems very forced and out of touch. It is going to turn off a whole lot more people, and I would think not bring anyone to your film. But on this whole how do you do, fellow kids marketing tour that Fantastic Four has gone on, I want to bring up another clip. Now, I've done a lot of videos on Pedro Pascal, I know, but this clip is the worst one that I saw of Pedro Pascal and Vanessa Kirby on this entire press tour. And they've been doing this whole thing, I guess, sort of building up to what the dynamic might be in the movie, that Pedro Pascal and Vanessa Kirby have this very close relationship where Pedro is led by Vanessa and in awe of her and is anxiety-ridden and needs to be taken care of by her. And they've been playing that up a lot, and it hasn't actually worked. It's once again led to a lot of awkward moments between them that has led to people to question them. But they're really trying to play up this idea, like Pedro being this submissive person to Vanessa Kirby is somehow endearing, and somehow this new way or new form, like the new idea of what a good relationship should look like and a good form of masculinity to work with, this man who is really the beta to Vanessa Kirby's alpha. But it is really not working. I've already covered a lot of the bizarre clips, but this one is the worst one. In the midst of all this talk of Pedro Pascal being a daddy and being what all women want to run after, we get this clip of Vanessa Kirby, however many months pregnant, looking exhausted, and then beside her, she's holding hands with 50-year-old Pedro Pascal, who looks like a lost little boy who's being led by his mom in the supermarket, and Vanessa Kirby has to drag him along. And it is just the worst thing that I ever saw. Now, a lot of people are saying, hey, it's staged. You know, Rachel Brosnahan and David Cornsweet are married to different people in real life, but they still did a lot of romantic stuff with each other on the press tour. The difference here is that Rachel Brosnahan and David Cornsweet, when they were doing those things, it was very clear that it was just a bit, and everyone was in on the bet. We know that there's nothing between them in real life. With Vanessa Kirby and Pedro Pascal, even if this is just something drummed up behind the scenes for publicity, they've been trying to pass it off as if this is just the real relationship that they have in real life. And even if this is all just a bit, it is not an appealing one. What woman who is like 6 months pregnant would want to have to drag along her 50-year-old co-star adult toddler while she's trying to handle being pregnant on this press tour? Who thinks that that is a romantic vision or whatever? Pedro is not her fiance. He's not her boyfriend. He's not her husband. He's her co-star, and he's in his 50s, and he's been an actor for however many long. I don't buy the whole thing about how he has anxiety and needs to be led along by his 6 months pregnant co-star or whatever. It comes off as so cringe and so inappropriate on so many levels. And it's just like this bizarre form of masculinity that they've decided is the positive version, but it's not. Needing to be dependent on your pregnant co-star as a 50-year-old man, that is not masculinity at all. That is toxic. And whether this is all just staged or it is actually real or a little bit of both, it is not a good look for the film. But that is what they went with. And once again, I think from a marketing standpoint, it is a part of this desperation from the Fantastic Four PR team to seem cool, to seem hip. Now, we don't use that word anymore, hip. That's like from the 60s, but that's the entire point. They're trying so hard to seem like they're down with the times and they're down with what the young people want and what the future is, that they're actually just proving how out of touch they are. This has backfired spectacularly, as now Pedro Pascal, it's becoming more and more mainstream now to talk about how tired you are of Pedro Pascal, to joke about him being in everything and how cringe this stuff can be. This isn't actually what anyone actually wants out of a leading figure like this. And it's the same thing with those interviews, those interview clips, is they're trying so hard to seem like they're cool and that they're from the future, you know. They know what the kids want. They're proving how out of touch they are because they're just going to Twitter speak, something that most people do not use, a platform that I would dare say most people don't use or pay attention to market their film, and it's not working. But I would say that that's been kind of the entire press tour that we've had with, once again, Pedro Pascal and Vanessa Kirby. Also, like the interviews with Joseph Quinn, I keep talking about when they were talking about who Johnny Storm would now be, where we are culturally, and all of that. It is this desperation to seem like they are so enlightened and so in the now, and that they know what's going on, and that they have checked off all the boxes and hit all the notes about what we would expect now from our heroic characters and our relationships in media and all that kind of stuff. But once again, it's just proving that they are completely out of touch with all of this stuff and that this isn't what people actually want. Look, guys, my problem with the Superman movie is I don't think it's a good plot. I think that the plot is an absolute mess. However, and a lot of people are agreeing with that, but why is it getting a lot at the domestic box office? And I've been wrong before and I have to correct myself, but when I look at Superman, I think that part of the reason why it at least has a fan base where Fantastic Four doesn't seem to be getting that is Superman was heavily advertised as a return to basics. Superman is no longer going to be a brooding, godlike character. It's back to him being a Boy Scout, back to him having an innocence, and whether you agree or not, and they did completely change Jor-El, They did advertise the movie as being a return back to the comics and what fans want. And they did that with Superman and Lois too in the marketing. So whatever I think about the Superman movie itself, I think that is what is working with it. And, James Gunn and everyone did their best to try to avoid controversy on the press tour, no matter how much it seemed that people wanted them to get involved with it. But Fantastic Four is almost like the opposite. Superman feels like it is really trying to get back to appeal to the fans, whether or not I agree that they did that for everyone or not. They're trying to appeal to the core DC fans again. But Fantastic Four seems like a movie where Marvel hasn't learned any of its lessons, and it's still trying to appeal to audiences that don't exist and sensibilities that don't really exist. And it seems like the people behind this marketing campaign have spent all their day on Twitter and trying to add up with what Twitter wants, and they still are completely avoiding getting back to what the fans want with all of this. And that's why I think we're headed into a real disaster with this Fantastic Four movie, and a real question of why. WB is actually really doing really well as a studio this year, but why is it so hard for Disney Marvel to get back to what their fans want and keep falling into these pitfalls, and why they can't get their first family right ever? Why are they so fixated on trying to achieve this new modern way of thinking, supposedly, and modern way of doing things that isn't actually the modern way? People have gone in a completely different direction, and they're not going with this. So such is the demise of Fantastic Four, and I don't think that it's the last we've heard of it. So please like and subscribe to this channel, and consider supporting me as a patron or a member if you are interested, because I think it is going to be a very interesting week when we finally see the Fantastic Four movie that Marvel has planned for us. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you guys next time.